Hello, and we are back with our Batman, the animated series episodes commentaries. And today's episode is a very fun one here in the show called Zatanna. And if you guys know DC Universe lore, you know that Zatanna is a very famous character from the comics, the TV shows, and all DC stuff related. So let's go. As usual, I'm going to do my countdown so we can watch the episode together. If you have your DVD box set or Blu-ray box set or streaming service with Batman the Animated Series, let's go in 3, 2, 1, give it a play. And the Warner Bros. Logo is on the screen. So yes, Zatanna, a character that is very famous from the comics, and she is part of the Justice League Dark, right? As one of the main members of the Justice League Dark, which features many of the Dark DC Universe characters like John Constantine, Swamp Thing, Deadman, and many other characters. And, well, she's a very famous character. She also appeared in many of the DC AU, which means Animation Universe, after this episode here in Justice League or Justice League Unlimited. And she's a magician, right? A magician character, which she is the daughter of the great magician Zatanna. And this is a very interesting episode because we have a team-up between her and Batman. And also we're going to have a little glimpse into the past of Bruce Wayne because of their story together. But the episode starts with Zatanna making a magic show in Gotham during a mint, right? So she's doing the show and presenting many magic tricks. And of course, who is in the audience? Bruce Wayne and Alfred. They already go into this whole talk about the past and the time where Bruce Wayne met her many years before, and she was a young girl and all that stuff. And we go right away into the flashback, right? Which we see Bruce Wayne learning some magic tricks that will be very useful for his future as a vigilante. So we have, by the way, the flashback is in black and white. Actually, it's more like a beige color, but it's supposed to be, to represent the past. And we have Bruce Wayne being taught by Zatanna, the father of Zatanna, how to escape a straitjacket. And during this, Zatanna is watching the two of them, and it's very clear that she has some feelings for this stranger, Bruce Wayne, especially because she's this young gal and he's this young stud. Bruce is probably 10 or 12 years younger in this flashback. So, we're going to have this very sweet and charming moment between Zatanna and Bruce. By the way, his name here is not Bruce Wayne. He uses an alias to pretend to be someone else, and his alias here is John Smith. John Smith, just like Mattis Malone, which is a famous alias that he uses to go undercover in the streets of Gotham. And this is because probably this is one of those times where Bruce Wayne found a master to teach him some new technique or some new skill that he would use in the future as a as a superhero. And this is very clear, for example, in Batman Begins, many stories in the comics where Batman travels the world to learn these skills and become this extreme, effective crime fighter, right? So here we see this idea of Bruce learning magic tricks because it will be important for his escapades as Batman. And like I said, it's a very charming scene. There is a little flirting between them two. Actually, there's more flirting from Zatanna than from Bruce. And they talk about the future. He's gonna fly away from the place. It's not explained where he is in the flashback, but he will take a flight and travel in the next day. So Zatanna is sad about this. And then they have this little conversation. She plays a magic trick with cards for him, which the card that pops up from the deck is a Joker, which is a fun little Easter egg. But anyway, so he escapes. She handcuffs him in a staircase, and he escapes, and he disappears from her life. And then we go back now to the present with Bruce watching her presentation. And the idea is that she is making a presentation where this bank owner will show a lot of money, 10 millions of dollars that he has in his bank, and she's gonna make a magic trick to make the whole money disappear for some minutes, just to scare the guy, and then return it. And and this is what's happening now. Of course, things will go wrong, right? And the guy, he gets very worried about what happened with his money. Plus, we also have the villain of the episode here, a guy named Morty. I forgot his last name, as usual. As I always say, I have to remember these elements when I watch the episodes again with you guys. So anyway, so she makes the trick to to make the money return, and the money still is gone. So, you know, this is something that was not in the plans. So very quickly, the police arrives to arrest her in the middle of the show, which is very strange. So the whole thing was a setup by this guy called Morty, of course, right? And we cut to Bruce. He gets very worried about what's going to happen to her. She's taken into the police car, or should I say transport, that will take her to prison. And yes, Bruce already knows that the whole thing was a setup, so he will dress as our great detective to discover what exactly happened, right? And so while she's being taken into custody in the truck, the Batman shows up and rescues her from the police truck. And when the truck arrives at the station, she's gone. So now we see her in the Batmobile. And this is very cool because she doesn't know that he is Bruce or that he is John Smith, the guy that she knew in the past. And the most interesting thing about this episode is that she is a very prominent character in the comics. So it's probably, if my memory doesn't fail, the first time we have a character that is not from the Batman lore, another superhero, because I guess that's what she is, showing up in Batman the Animated Series. I'm trying to remember now if there was any other DCU character popping up in Batman the Animated Series before. Probably there is, but I'm not remembering now. And this is something interesting because I made a video here in this channel, you can look it up, about the canceled ideas for Batman the Animated Series episodes. I will put the link right here. It's a very interesting video where I go through some ideas that the creators, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, had about episodes that would be in the show. And there were going to be many appearances from other DC characters, including Sandman from Vertigo Comics, and some other characters that I don't remember now. But, you know, we were supposed to have more cameos from other characters here in the show. And by the way, when we get to Superman, the animated series, we're gonna have many characters from DC lore showing up in that series, which is great. I always loved these elements in that show. So this is a first for Batman in here. And the idea of this episode is really a team up where they both get together to unravel the mystery of what happened in this setup that was done to her. And so they are partners in this case, right? So they ride around in the Batmobile, they fight the goons. So it's pretty cool, this idea. I think Batman the Animated Series should have had more of these episodes where we see other characters from the DC lore. I remember now, there was supposed to be an episode where Swamp Thing was going to show up, and he was going to be, I don't know what's the term now, hypnotized, I suppose, or there was supposed to be some enchantment that Poison Ivy was going to do to him. So that would have been amazing, you know, to have these cameos. And I really like this episode here because it also has that tone of a James Bond kind of story where the hero and the, I don't know, Bond girl, should we say, because not that they have a romantic relationship. In this case, Batman doesn't really fall for her, and I guess it's the same for her as well. They're more like real partners. But there is this whole, you know, the hero and the girl getting together to fight some kind of a Bond villain guy, because this guy here, and I still don't remember his name. I will remember this Morty guy, right? He is basically a James Bond villain. He has this huge aircraft that we're gonna see in the end, where Batman and Zatanna fight some goons, and they get dragged by the plane outside. Is a really cool action scene. And now, by the way, they are in the mansion of this villain, and he is this kind of airplane guy, a pilot. So when they are inside the mansion, they fall into a trap where we have they both fall into this hole with the walls. They start to move just like the trash compactor of Star Wars, but this time the walls, they have spikes, and these spikes will you know kill them, right? And so Batman, he melts one of these spikes and uses it to stop one of the walls by putting it on the edge of the wall. And then he melts another and tries to open the door, the trap door that they fell into, and they are able to escape in the last second. So the whole thing is very James Bond kind of plot, and I love this because I love James Bond. I am a huge James Bond fan. In another life or in the multiverse, I mean, in an alternative reality, I would probably be doing a James Bond channel if I weren't more fanatic for Batman, of course. I absolutely love the movies, and I know all of them. I know, many details about them. So, and this guy here, by the way, this villain, this Bond kind of villain, he's very similar to one villain from the James Bond series from the movie Moonraker, which, again, I will not remember the name of the guy now. Something like Trax. I think it's Trax, the name of the guy. And he's very similar in terms of his look. I guess he's a real reference that the creators of this episode had to use that guy. But in that movie, he is a villain that has this huge space station, right? So he's a space villain. In here, the guy has a huge aircraft. So I guess this is the similarities. So yes, Batman and Zatanna are now in his aircraft, right? This huge plane that is that has, this big room inside, almost like a restaurant. So it's it's not a normal aircraft, and the shape is almost like a boomerang, but more straight, right? With these huge propellers in the back, and it's a very cool, aircraft. So yes, the villain is able to get Batman and Zatanna and trap them, and he chains them together. Again, this is a very Bond thing to happen, right? Where him and the Bond girl, they are trapped together in a chain or something, in a rope, and they are tossed outside of some vehicle. I remember one James Bond. I actually watched this movie yesterday, so it's a very big coincidence. The one who is, what is the name? For Your Eyes Only, where the villain, he wraps both Bonds and the Bonds girl together, and he's in a boat, and he tosses them out of the boat into the ocean and starts to drag them in the water by the boat. So, and Bond has to find a way to escape that. But here we have the same idea, because they are tossed out of the aircraft, so they are basically hanging in the air by the chain, and Batman is able to unlock the lock that is chaining them together, and he's able to grab into this big, I don't know the name of this thing that is hanging outside the plane, but it's like a huge, I don't know, cloth thing, and he's able to get him and Zatanna back to the plane, and they are now on the wings of the plane outside. So this is a huge air action sequence that, physically speaking, is impossible, but it makes for a good action scene with them hanging on the wings of the plane. And of course, the villain, he starts to accelerate the craft, so the wind blows Batman and Zatanna back, and they have to hang on the wings. So it becomes this very interesting action sequence in the air. Batman uses and again, I'm not a specialist in airplanes, but he uses the edges of the wing, starts to bouncing them to control a little of the levitation on the craft, right? So now we're gonna have the goons going outside. Again, physics don't exist in here. and they start to fight Batman and Zatanna in the wings of the plane. And I don't remember what happens to them, but I guess they will fall from the plane. We have this redhead goon that is very, from the other goons that we always see in these episodes, he stands out, I think. And yes, Batman fights one of them. Actually, both of them fall from the plane. Now I see it. And they fall into the water. But they fall from so high that they should be dead, right? Their bodies should have been crushed in the waves of the ocean, but apparently no. The idea is that they survived. And then we have the ending where Zatanna, she goes back into the plane and punches the villain, knocking him down, and he gets arrested. And then we have the real ending where Zatanna already knows that Batman is John Smith, because in the plane, he called her Zana very quickly, and this was a nickname that John Smith used to call her. So, yes, they have this very sweet, tender moment together where she asks him why he's wearing that mask now, and he explains that he made a promise, and he says to her that he can give her a ride, but she just disappears just like a magician does, and leaves him a note, which is the ending of this episode. A very cool episode, I really like it, and this is it, Zatanna. This is not the last time that we are going to see her in this show, right? I mean, not in this show, I mean in the DCU, in the DCAU animation series. So we're gonna see her again in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So it's a very cool character, and I hope she also appears one day in the DCU, I mean, live-action universe from James Gunn, because I believe she would be a great addition to this universe. Okay, people? Thank you so much. If you are liking the content of BATGUS, please don't forget to leave a like in this video and subscribe to the channel for more Batman and DC Universe content. Alright? See you in the next Bat video, and bye-bye.